how do we become sensitive to misattunements in our relationships? And then how do we initiate repair and also receive repair from other people? That brings us back into building relationship resiliency as we are marching down the road, especially in long term relationships, really an important part of what makes them healthy and sustainable. And John Gottman says if you learn to initiate and receive repair, you have 85% more chance in your intimate relationship of staying in a state of well-being. I mean, if you got an 85% return
Wow.
on your money, you wouldn't even be buying Starbucks or a cup of coffee. You'd be putting all your money in the bank because you'd be making so much benefit from it. So that's
Sure.
why I really emphasize repair. There's huge payoff for learning how to repair. If I was the person who was making the angry comments, first of all, I might want to take some responsibility to do the healing work I might need to do because probably there's some unresolved trauma fueling that. So that if
Right.
they can, have some compassion towards themselves about that and then do the work they need to do, it can be helpful. Or even that could be in the relationship or that could be in therapy, however they want to do that, the rituals, whatever works. But initiating repair might just be like, I know I lashed out. And I'm really sorry. I know I hurt your feelings and I did this. And I would be specific about what I did so the person knows that you get what you did, when I said
Okay.
this, when I, you know, whatever, swung a pillow at you or whatever it was that happened. It's good to be concrete about what you feel was off and then not follow it with but I was sick, but I was tired, but I'd worked 70 hours, but the dog wouldn't stop barking. But you just get rid of that part of the sentence because that sort of negates the first part. And then the other thing is sometimes it takes a lot of self esteem and strength to apologize, to make a repair. So
Mhm.
when you're in your more regulated sense of self, that's easier to do. If you're in the middle of still having a lot of unresolved trauma, you can be pretty fragmented and not have a stable sense of self. And many times people that are in that state really can't apologize or it's unlikely they'll apologize. So if you're trying to work something out with somebody who has a more fragility that because they just haven't healed quite as much as they need to yet, you may need to understand that you're apologizing for your part of it, even if you feel like what the other person did was worse. And you just stay on your apology for your part of it. And this is the hard part. This is really like masterclass level, advanced level. You need to enter into that conversation realizing that the other person may not have the capacity to meet you. They may not have the capacity to own their part. They may not have the capacity to acknowledge or recognize or without going into a shame spiral about what they did, but it's important for our own maturation and growth
Mhm.
regardless of what the other person does or doesn't do, to do
Mhm.
the repair because we actually grow and mature and we take that maturity into all of our other relationships. So there's a win in it, whether the other person responds or doesn't, or cuts you off or doesn't allow it to happen. Your one
Mhm.
sided reconciliation is still really important to do. And ideally, I mean, often if you sincerely make an apology, the other person, if they have enough strength of self-esteem, will respond and say, "Well, I really appreciate that, and I realize I did this also," and that sort of thing. But you want to honor the hurt feelings and not go so much into explanation, like I did it because blah 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 blah. It's more like
Okay.
I see that I really made you feel bad and or what I said was really hurtful because you
Mhm.
really don't want to take responsibility for other people's feelings exactly. But it's very helpful to practice and go in with certain intention and then also realize that it may end up being a one-sided reconciliation, but you're making peace with yourself inside yourself. I mean, when I've made it repair attempts, I feel good that I tried, I
Yeah.
did my
Yeah.
best and maybe I didn't
Yeah.
do it perfectly, but I put that energy out there. And even if somebody comes back with even more attack or whatever, I just go, okay, I did what I could do. And I can kind of move on then. I have a sort of peace in myself. So usually you're going to have a little bit better response where people go, "Oh, I'm so appreciate you acknowledging that. Thank you."
Mhm.
That's really helpful. Some people use apology or repair attempts. This is a really important not to do. Like say your kid didn't do his homework and they got a bad grade on a test or whatever, and they go, "Oh, hey mom and dad, I'm sorry I didn't study. I was on my computer and I was doing video games or whatever." and then you just need to say thank you for acknowledging that, and I really appreciate it. Took a lot of guts and a lot of bravery for you to say that to me, and then not use it as a teaching moment. Now next time you should do your homework. You want to,
Right.
because that will teach kids not to apologize, because then they see it like, I apologize, I try to repair, and then I get lambasted with
Mm,
what I did wrong again. So, and that's hard as parents not to use that as a teaching moment, just to say, thank you, honey. I know that took a lot of courage, and I really appreciate you acknowledging that. Done.
right. Done.
Done. Stop talking. Done. And then later, you let some time pass. You can say, "Okay, honey, do you need help with your homework, or how's it going with that project?" Later, another time. But
Right.
if you want your kids to apologize, you need it to be a good experience. And that's the same for us in our adult relationships too, right?